Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to Corsi Web Connect. In today's meeting, we have an amazing expert with us who will be giving us an insight about a very interesting topic. But before we begin, let me introduce myself. I am Sanaya Parker from Corsi Infinite. And let me tell you something about Corsi Infinite and what we do. Corsi Infinite is a thriving online paid community established a year ago where business owners can collaborate, share knowledge, and support each other for exceptional business growth. What you can expect out of the community is a weekly online meeting, out of which one meeting is a web connect session like this one that happens once in every month. That session is open to all paid and non-paid members. And the special part of that is that every month we get one different speaker to give us insights about trendy topics that is helpful for both our professional and personal lives. This is also to be a channel for connecting with like-minded people who can help you support you in your business. A channel which gives you a chance to learn the basic, intermediate, and advanced knowledge. And lastly, a channel that provides accountability, collaboration, growth, and success. It's a subscription based community, and to be a part of this community, there will be a link in the chat box. Please do click. That's all about what 4C Infinite is. In case you want to know anything more, you can connect with us on our social media handles, which will be shown on the screen soon. We are going to talk about forget no more. And we have someone special coming and introducing this topic to us. Okay. For those who are a part of the meeting right now, why should you attend such a topic? It's to understand why we need to strengthen our memory for our daily life and how to increase our focus. Who all should attend it? For those who tend to make simple mistakes in our daily professional or personal life. I can truthfully tell, even I'm one of them. Now, how am I going to make use of this webinar? It's by taking a lot of this knowledge back home and practicing it in my daily life. After all, it takes a lot of time to make it into a habit. Now, we have a few house rules. I request all participants to stay on mute. Any reactions you would like to give, please give it through virtual means. It could be a thumbs up, a clap, anything will help for the presenter. No spamming, please. If you have any inquiries or questions, you can either put it on the chat box or we have a Q&A right after the entire session. With that, let us bring in our presenter. Our presenter today is Mr. Anant Kasibhatla. He is India's #1 focus and memory coach, and he is a seasoned expert in the fields of focus enhancement and memory improvement, having a total of 28 years of dedicated training expertise. He has conducted many workshops for several Fortune 500 companies, and he's helped so many organizations and individuals to get extraordinary results in half the time and half the effort. He also holds the Indian national record for memory and has had the privilege to train the world's youngest national memory champion. He has also authored 2 books, which are being published in Malaysia and Singapore. With that, let us all give a silent round of applause to Mr. Anant Kasibhatla.
Thank you everyone. All right, very good evening. Can you all hear me? If you can hear me, you can just put yes in the chat box. So I know that you are able to hear me. Yes, thank you, Ms. Nandakumar, Namni, thank you so much. So let's get started. Thank you, Narendraji. Thank you. Okay, so a big thank you for joining in. And my commitment today would be before you leave the session today, session another 55 minutes, I'll give you some ideas and strategies which will help you to take charge of your memory. At least start working on it. So that's what my promise for this session. Let's move on. And for the topic, as already been discussed, it is forget no more. I'd like to ask a couple of questions here. How many of you think that having good memory is extremely important for professional and personal success? If you feel that it's you can put me in the chat box. If you think that memory is extremely important for professional and personal success, put me in the chat box. Thank you so much, Narendraji, Anupamaji. Thank you so much, Navneet, Sankumar. All right, great. And how many of you want to have a great memory? Also put me in chat box again. Awesome. And that's why you're here on a Friday evening, right? So you're in the right place because we'll be talking about exactly that. And just give an idea what we'll be talking about. So we'll be talking about some mistakes people make, those little mistakes, which innocent mistakes rather. People don't know how it is actually taking their memory for a toss. We'll try identifying that, and also share some strategies on how you can start leveraging your own memory. So let's get started. And if you have any questions, you can always put in the chat box. I have my eyes on the chat box, so absolutely no problem. And if you have anything to share, you can actually share your comments. Absolutely okay on the chat box. And later on, we'll have a formal Q&A session as well. But meanwhile, if you have any question, you can put in the chat box also, which will take it as it comes, right? Okay. So a quick introduction. So it's already been introduced. So I just very quickly do that again. I'm a second generation focus and memory coach with 28 years experience. I help people to get results in half the time and half the effort which they normally put in. That's my Limca record. I got record for memorizing 75 telephone numbers in less than an hour, along with the names of the owners. And it's still a record which is not even touched by people. So I'm into this field for a very long time. So I was living in Malaysia for about 13 years, and I've done my workshops in about 10 countries with over 55 countries participants. And yeah, these are two books which I've done. One published from Malaysia, second one from Singapore. So these are the two books, and I have also initiated the Malaysian National Memory Championship. So I was the one who has initiated that, and I've chaired the committee for 7 years. And these are some of the companies. If you ask me, Anand, whom have you worked with? Whom did you help? So these are some of the companies that have conducted my workshop. And in fact, one of the best things which I think is I've also helped the king's daughter and king's granddaughter of Malaysia, apart from other royal members out there. Plus, I've also asked to do some help for Malaysian army. So for physical fitness, of course, they are the boss. But for mental fitness, they thought I'll add some value for them, and I did add value for them. And these are my other association affiliates. I was a part of Malaysian Association of Professional Speakers. I was into Toastmasters. I'm still in Rotary. I've taken some roles. I was a past president, and also on the district level, I've taken some roles. So that's about me. But today, it's not about me. It's about you and how you can take your charge of your memory and understand the concept and go to the next level. All right. And this is one of my pictures, which was taken 28 years ago. So if you're wondering where am I, that's me. I was the facilitator for the training, and I was only 17 years old that time. And everybody who were there in the workshop are much elder people than me. So that's where I started, and that's the reason I head on have about 28 years of experience. Yeah. So let's get started. If you're ready, you can just put ready in the chat box so I know that you're ready. READY ready in the chat box so I know that you're ready. Awesome. Thank you everyone for responding. Thank you, Ananta. Thank you, Narendraji. Okay, let's get started. So please do participate. You're participating. I love that. So keep it on. And this is something I would always like to remind people. The mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work unless it's open. So why bring it up is because I'm going to give you some concepts. I'm going to talk about something. So please be open to it. So you don't have to say, okay, this doesn't work or whatever. Just accept them first. At the end of the seminar, you find that, hey, this doesn't make sense. This particular tool doesn't make sense. Why are the dustbins first? You can just drop them in. But have an open mind to receive, then you can do whatever you want to do with the content. So that's one thing. And if you're ready to be open, can you just put open in the chat box so I know that you're also sitting with an open mind like I am sitting open. All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so let's move forward.
Open.
And if you have any questions, please do put your question.
Open.
If you have any, thank you for that. So if you have any light bulb moments, if you think something made a lot of sense, you can also share that in the chat box, or as then I was talking about, maybe you can put a emoji in the chat box or whatever thing. Or if you don't agree to what I am saying, you can also share that, okay, Anand, this doesn't work. This, I don't want to agree to this. That's absolutely okay. Because when we have that conversation, maybe I will learn something new, or maybe you will have a new mindset to take over, or because of our conversation, somebody else in the room will get some benefit, right? So I'm okay with all these things, and this all includes participation. So let's start with this question: how good is your memory? And let me tell you, I'm not going to judge you on that. I just want you to keep a number, give a number, whatever you think is absolutely okay. And let me tell you, I'm not going to judge, but still, I want you to give a number. How good is your memory? One being low to five being extremely extraordinary. Okay, we'll start with the two, two, three, four. Awesome. Three. Great. Now, wherever you are, what you're going to listen will take you one level at least ahead. And what if you're on five? You know what? There's always room for improvement. You'll still have some more possibility to go to the next level. Let's get going and start here. And this is one of my favorite quotes. Every next level of your life would demand a new version of yourself. Do you agree to that? If you agree, you can just put letter A in the chat box so I know that you'll agree to this. Every next level of your life will demand a new version of yourself. Exactly right. What works right now may not work tomorrow. At every level, we have to adapt, and that's what people say. And people always talk about something which is like breaking the mind barrier. And if you want to break the mind barrier, where do we start? Now we start, or we should start rather, at changing the perception. Your perceptions or your reality. Now, there is no absolute truth as such. Whatever you feel about it is will become your reality. Because we're talking about memory, so let me ask you a question. How many of you have heard that as the age increases, your memory goes down? How many of you heard that? You heard that? You can just put me in the chat box. You heard that? Yes. And I just want to ask you, where did you buy this? It's just a saying which got fulfilled for people. So maybe when we were kids, we have heard had this joke like an old grandmother put the head specs on the head and setting the whole old saying, exactly, that's what Nandakumar. So what happens when we enjoy it as a joke for as kids, and then when we grow older, we see grandparents doing the same thing, and we say, oh my, this is not a joke, this is reality. And then we grow much older, then we say, oh, this is what's going to happen to us. It's not scientific, by the way, let me tell you. Now, why people forget at the older age is because they have a belief that I cannot remember. And because I cannot remember, I will not try. And because I don't try, I don't remember. And because I don't remember, I say it's because of my age. Perception. People will come to you and tell you, I'm old, so I cannot remember. People will never tell you, I don't try, that's why I don't remember. How sad, right? So this is what the perception can do. And if you change your perceptions, result change. That's what people say. But let's put it to the test. So let me ask you this question. What do you see here? You can just type it, whatever you see here. Can you just type what you're seeing here? What do you see in the screen, on the screen? A frog? Okay, great. Awesome. And you know what? When I asked this picture, when I shared this picture to other people, I got answers like it looks like a rabbit, chicken in the supermarket, goat head in a mutton shop, a dragon, an old lady, a horse, a camel. I don't know. I got a lot of answers. Whom do you think is right? Who is a thinking horse? Wow. Now we have a thinking horse. Now who is right? Now let me tell you, everybody is right because it's their perspective. Now, what if I tell you this is a horse? How many of you can see the horse? If you can see the horse, can you just put hedge or horse in the chat box? Can you see the horse? No. Okay, let me help you to see the horse. Can you see the horse right now? Sachin, yes. Great, thank you. So, rest of you can see the horse right now? Yes, perfect. Now, this is exactly the same picture, but I changed the perspective. So, let me give you both the things here. So, this is a frog, a small fish, and that's a horse. Right? It's the same picture but a different perspective. Now, why bring this up? Is in this session we're going to make that small shift which will change the entire memory or how you look at the memory. The perspective change and the results will change. So let's get started. Let me ask you this question: how many of you do you forget? So if you forget, you can put the answer, whatever is the answer, you can just put there. Okay, yes. And those who have not responded, probably you forgot the question I asked. Okay, okay. All right, cool. So people do forget. Now the question is, do you really forget? Think about it. Do you really forget? Now, a lot of people say I forget, but let me tell you, oh, you really forget. Thank you so much for that. So let me prove that in the next 30 seconds or maybe 10, 15 seconds. Is it okay if I can prove you that you don't forget? Will that be good? Yes, no? I can prove you that you cannot forget. So let me just ask you something. Okay, thanks, Namkumar, for that. All right. The question for you is try to forget something which you already know. This is a task for you. Try to forget something which you already know. Is it possible? Try to forget something which you already know. Absolutely not possible. Exactly. This conversation is something which you want to remember. Now, names. I understand this. So a lot of people say, "Oh, no, Anand, you don't understand." We meet people, but we forget the names. No, you know what? I've studied. I went to the examination. I forgot the answer. Oh, I forgot this guy. I meet him always. I forgot the person. Now, I'm sure you all have this kind of experiences. But let me tell you, you don't forget what actually has happened. Is you fail to recall. How many times it has happened to you? You forgot a name, or you thought you forgot a name when you're driving back to your home, or maybe swimming, maybe playing tennis, or in a business meeting. Suddenly, the name would pop out. Oh, Pankaj, how could I actually forget him? Did it ever happen to you? And people say, I forgot the answer, my mind went blank. And the same people tell you that after they came out of the examination hall, they actually remembered the entire thing back. Yeah, exactly. How can I forget something which you already remember? Exactly right. So when people say, I forgot, what they're actually supposed to say is, I have a problem in recalling. People can never forget, but there could be a challenge in recall. So that's one thing which you have to understand. So it's a recall challenge. Now, why a recall challenge happens? Because of a couple of reasons. One thing is, maybe when you're giving the name to somebody, they're thinking about something else. Oh, is my coat okay or not? Or tomorrow I should travel to Bhopal, so I should get my travel tickets, air tickets done. They're thinking of something else, so they did not register in the first case. That could be one reason. Second thing is simply you did not have enough energy and practice to bring out the information when you need it the most. So suddenly you ask me something, and if I'm not able to recollect, now I say, oh, I forgot. But later on, 2 days later on, this is very simple. I know this answer. Or I have this information. That's what people say. So you really don't forget. What actually happens is you have a problem with recall. So that's very important to understand. So is this making sense? If it is making sense, can you just put MS, make sense, in the chat box? So I know that it is making sense for you. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. And if you have some other questions, we'll take it also. You can also put the questions later on, no issues, right? Okay, so first thing you have to do is affirm yourself that you have a great memory. Now I can prove that you have a great memory, and let me give you a task. You don't have to do it right away, but think about this task. When you go back home, you can do this. Take some A4 sheets of paper, maybe a lot of them, and keep writing what all you know till now in your lifetime. Like every word you know in every language, the songs, the rhymes, the poems, the movies you have seen, the places you have visited, the recipes you know, the people you met, the organization you work for, the skill sets you have, everything you know, just keep writing. Everything. And if you really do this, how long do you think you will take to finish this exercise? Rest of your life. Rest of your life. Absolutely. It's an endless. And by chance, you have a second life. The moment you are born, you start writing because it's an incomplete exercise. All right. Now, please understand your memory has no problem. It is very, very powerful. Endless, exactly. So it's very, very powerful. The only thing is you have to work on your recall. When people say, I have a memory problem, technically they have to say, I have a recall challenge. Memory cannot be a problem for anybody. All right, let's move on. And we just did this. So let's talk about some mistakes which people actually uh, do in life. So just by stopping the mistakes, you know what? You will be able to do better things in life. Now, mistakes are like leaky buckets, right? So let's understand the mistakes first. Now, why I'm pointing out the mistakes is because the moment you know it's a mistake, if you stay away from it, you're better off than today. even without doing anything extra. That's the beauty. Just stop making mistakes. So I'm sure if you're traveling to overseas, a different country, people always say, "Hey, what? Look, if you don't do anything right, is absolutely okay, but don't do anything wrong." Am I right? Similarly, in the mind space, if you don't do anything right, it's absolutely okay, but don't do anything wrong. So if you want to identify what is right and wrong, you should know them. Unfortunately, what happens? The system has not provided us any formal training on memory. We've always been told, oh, you remember this, you pay attention. But we've never been told how. We've never been told what is right, what is wrong. So let me share what are wrongs, what are those mistakes which actually kill your memory. So here they are. So if you're wanting to take notes, you can take notes also. The first thing is people think memory is automatic. Now, what I mean by this? Now, people say just because I am listening and just because I'm able to understand, I have to remember. No, 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 no. Life don't work like that. Just because if you're listening to something and you'll be able to remember, everybody has become an expert on every damn thing on the planet. But life don't work like that. Memory is a process. It is not automatic. When I say it's a process, it need to be activated. There are steps. You have to do something. So I'll share some of them today. So it's not automatic. Just because you're listening, just because you're understanding, you think that you remember, big mistake. All right, it's not automatic. You have to do something about it. The second one, yeah. Uh, okay. So let's move on. The second one is people don't engage in a lot of brain activity on a regular basis. Now, if you're not exercising, I'm talking about your physical body. If you're not exercising, would you not become weak? Would you not be not using your maximum capacity? Similarly with the brain, similarly with the memory, similarly with the focus, attention. If you are not exercising them, that's a big, big, big mistake. Now, people do physical exercise because, when they look at the mirror, the mirror says, Anant, you look fat. Or say, okay, let me go for a walk from Monday. Now, whether I go to a walk or not, that's a different issue. But then people always think I should do some exercise. I should hit the gym. But then what about the brain? Now, that's one big mistake which people do. Next one is irregular sleep and not having enough sleep. There's a lot of scientific evidence which has been done, so I don't talk the details, but let me give you your focus, your memory is dependent on how well have you slept on the previous day. When you sleep, that's the time where the memory gets consolidated and your brain gets rest and the repair happens inside the brain as well, not just in the body. And that will help for retention of memory. That there's a lot of research which has been done on that. But what people do is either they sleep very less or they have irregular sleep patterns. So because of which they are paying a very, very high price in terms of mental health and specifically in terms of focus and memory. So this is a big mistake. The next one, this is a crazy one. And I love this mistake which people make. I'm amused. Now, I'm sure you have heard this kind of thing. Let's say somebody's preparing for, say, just trying to learn something, maybe say Pythagoras theorem. I just give an example because of the memory thing. So I have some challenge as a kid. Let's say as a kid, I'm trying to remember Pythagoras theorem and I'm having a challenge. The first advice I would get is, please read it 4 times. So those of you who understand Hindi, beta isko 4 बार पढ़ लेना. Read it 4 times. Now what happens when you read it 4 times? So it goes inside layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. It becomes like concrete. So if you read something 4 times, you will have a very strong, memory of that thing. How many of you have at least heard about that? You read something 4 times. You read your script 4 times. You remember. You go through your to-do list 4 times. You remember. So how many of you have heard such kind of thing? Nobody heard that? Yeah, you heard. Okay, great. Thanks, Ankumaji. So, yeah, Ratta Maro, exactly. That's what the way of saying. Okay, Ratta Maro is like, learn by heart. Okay, yeah, great. So, now let me tell you, that is exactly a wrong way. Now, let me share something interesting. So, let's say I did my 4 times of reading something over and over again, and you're my math teacher and taking my Viva, and you ask me, okay, then tell me about the Pythagoras theorem. Now, what are you expecting me to do? You're expecting me to pull out the content, bring out, show me what you have, right? You're asking me to pull out the content. But all my life, what I've been practicing? Putting in the content. Oh, let me read it 4 times. Let me read it 5 times. I'm putting in, and the test is on pulling out. How sad. It is metaphorically equal to 4 years you practice cycling, and when you go and represent your country in Olympics, You are actually participating in javelin throw and you're wondering why I'm not able to make it. Because your practice was in somewhere else and your result is you're finding result somewhere else. Now, memory is not input intensive, memory is output intensive. It doesn't matter how many times you put in, what matters is how many times you pull out. Memory is all about recalling, bring out the content. So you got to be practicing that. So if it makes sense, can you just put MS in the chat box? So I know that this critical thing you all get it. Memory is output intensive, not input intensive, as a lot of people think. Thank you so much. So let's move forward. Now, another one which kills your memory is multitasking. People, or they very fancily say, "Oh, you know what? I'm a multitasking expert. I can do 20 things at one time." If somebody says I'm a multitasking expert, you know what I say? God bless you, because God should really bless you. Now, why does multitasking hurt? I mean, you can go Google, you'll find 200 reasons and a lot of research on why things don't work. But I can tell you very quickly that multitasking will make your attention span lower and lower. It increases stress and it will make you lose access to yourself. So multitasking is a strict no-no. If you want to really work with your brain, stop multitasking and you have to embrace single tasking. Whatever you're doing, do one thing at a time, wherein you have a continuous access to yourself, and it's a very good exercise. If I try to watch movie, write an email, talk to my kid, have my coffee, the coffee will spill on somewhere and I make some spelling mistakes and simple things like 2 plus 3 is equal to 8. People actually make such kind of mistakes because they are multitasking. So this is one challenge which people have. And the other one, which is very, very significant problem, is that over dependence on technology. When the data banks have come in, people's ability to remember telephone numbers have gone for a toss. How many of you actually remember the days where people say, "Oh, you know what? I used to remember a lot of numbers, but I don't remember so many these days." If that's you, can you just put me in the chat box? Yeah, exactly. Now, why? Because if I meet you, I say, "Okay, Miss Ananta, what's your number?" You say 9120831461 8. So I just type it down from the source into the device without even getting into my head. And you will have something funny you can do, not now, but later on. Just scroll your phone book. You'll find at least 200 names. You don't even know why they're existing in your phone. Pankaj Agarwal. Who the hell is Pankaj Agarwal? Why is the name sitting in my phone? You don't even know that. And if you want to do some research and look at his DP in the WhatsApp, you will see Hanumanji standing there folding his hands or a pet dog there. So you'll never recover the information, right? Now you don't even know. And when the calculators have come into existence, people have forgotten basic skills of calculating. When the Google Maps became popular, people have forgotten how the routes work. So for the Facebook birthdays, thank you so much for adding, right? And the problem is that technology is not the problem, dependence is the problem. We have outsourced our memory and thinking that, oh, my memory is not working. Your memory is not working because you are not working with your memory. There's no problem with the memory actually. So let's move on and see. So any quick sharings before we move on? Any quick share? You can just put the shares in the chat box. Anything you want to share very quickly, you can share. Okay. So let's move on and let me share some challenges which people have, and why I'm making you realize the challenges is because you have to know this. You have to know this. So here, have you ever told yourself or have you ever experienced that you have struggle in recalling? Have you ever experienced that you struggle recalling sometimes even the information which is very, very important and which is known to you earlier? Have you had difficulty in paying attention? You're attending a webinar and there's a spoon falls down in the kitchen. You say, okay, what the hell is that? You want to see everything. Somebody moving, you get distracted easily. Difficulty in paying attention. Lack of awareness. Now, people have these conversations like, you know what, I drove for 15 kilometers, but I did not realize which way I have gone. Now, people like, they have coffee and conversation, and then they say, hey, the coffee is finished. I didn't realize the coffee is over. Now, one should be on drugs to achieve that. 300 ml hot coffee getting inside the body is a physical assault. The coffee is flowing outside, it's okay, absolutely fine, I'm not aware. But it's going inside. How can you say that I didn't know how I finished 300 ml coffee. Zero awareness. People lock their office or house, drive for 4 kilometers, then they scratch their head. Did I lock my house? People go to vacation and we're in the middle of the boat, and they'll say, "Hey, did I switch off the geyser in my bathroom?" These kind of people are not aware of what is happening around. So high stress levels these days, everybody has got a very high stress and information overload. Information is doubling every 2 to 3 years, or maybe even faster. Information overload and poor quality sleep. If you have ever experienced this, you got to be careful. You got to be very, very, very careful because these are big signs of problems, not small, very big. Now, let me very quickly share the consequences and then we'll talk about what actions which you can take to take charge of some of these at least. So, the consequences very quickly: steady cognitive decline. If you don't do something today, it will keep going down and down and down. I'll tell you, like, I've been doing this for the last 28 years, and 15 years back, people were actually laughing at my face when I say I help people to, enhance their memory and the quality of focus. They're laughing. And who needs this? And today, I feel very sad when I talk to people. They say, "Oh, you know what? My focus is going down. You're very true. I'm not able to pay attention." If 15 years back you'd done something about it, people would not have been saying that. And it's never too late to make a U-turn. So this is one thing which is going to happen if you don't take any action. Reduce productivity. People are already experiencing that. Impaired decision making because people cannot remember, people cannot focus. It's going to hurt them. Innovation stagnation, health complications, and diminished quality of life, and more than anything else, a poor self-image. You know what? The way you look at your mental self is going to decide the way you look at anything else on the planet, right? Now that's a very important thing. If you have a very good thing about your mental self, the way you look at everything else is totally different. So this is very, very important to work on your mental self to be able to be positive and access yourself and go to the next level. So that's very important. So now let's see what actions can you take. If you don't take any action, I say God bless you, of course, but take some actions, simple actions which can really, really change the way you look at. So if you have not been making some notes, you can start making some notes because I'm going to give you some simple strategies. Of course, I do a lot of technical long sessions, but this being an awareness program, I'm going to give you some ideas which will work for you right from today to take place if you start working on. So the first thing, where do you start? Where do you start? The first thing is start with an intent. It cannot get simpler than this. So let me share something funny and something very serious, seriously funny. Is that I'm sure most of you have forgot names of people, right? Sometimes at least you have, right? And I'm sure you have attended a lot of webinars, you read some books, you attended some meetings, you have attended some seminars. I'm sure you did that, right? You read some books as well. Now, how many times have you told yourself just before getting into a meeting or just before reading a book or just before getting the webinar that I want to remember what this lady is talking about. I want to remember what this guy is talking about. I want to remember what is written in this book. Have you consciously told yourself? The word is consciously. Now people just do it. Oh, okay. Now let me listen. I'm just speaking. Let me listen. Now, that's okay. But have you consciously told yourself, I want to remember what this guy is talking? Now, if you're not consciously made a decision or an intent, the things would not start. If you do not have a conscious intent, what it amounts to is not taking a decision. You're not even taking a decision to remember anything. How will your brain stand up and help you? So just by making an intent, you will see a lot of relief for you. The moment you intend, the brain will start working because there is a job description immediately. Otherwise, the brain is very busy being busy, right? So intent is one thing which will help. So if it is making sense, you can just put I or intent in the chat box. So I know that you understand that intent is where we start with. Absolutely. Thank you, Nandkumar, for that. Anand, thank you. Narendraji, thank you very much. All right. So let's move on. Anupama, thank you. Let's move on. Now, let me ask you this question. Any failure of memory is basically a failure of recall. If you agree to this, can you just put agree in the chat box? Any failure of memory is basically a failure of recall? Absolutely. Now, the most amazing question. This could be a life changer for you. And That's a big statement, but I stand by that. Let me ask you this question. The question is, when is the last time you sat with yourself and told yourself, let me practice some recalling today? I am not saying you are not recalling, but I'm just asking you, when is the last time you sat with yourself and told yourself, let me practice recalling? When is the last time you did that? Not at all. Thank you. Never. Absolutely never. You are at least saying never. And I met people who are 84 years old and they actually ask, oh, should we actually do that? Yeah, thank you, Anupama, for sharing that. You do it periodically. Very good. And if you're doing this, I can say, even without knowing you a lot, I can say your memory is much better than your peers. And your peers might have told you that, it's good, right? Okay, during exams, okay. So sometimes you did, so sometimes you get the result. The question is, do you do it every time? Okay, anyway. So let's move on. Yeah, thank you for that. Recall specific stuff only. Okay. So recall specific stuff only is okay, but then if you can do recall as a practice. Now recall, like let's say for example, you ask me, okay, Anand, which city are you in currently? I'll say Pune. I've recalled it. But then it is not a recall practice. I'm in the war zones, I recall. So it doesn't qualify as a recall practice. Recall practice is like I sit down and say, okay, let me recall what I have done today. Let me recall what has happened in the webinar today. No, that's a conscious recall practice activity. A lot of time people don't do that. So if you can spend some time, that is going to be a very good thing. So now let me give you some ways to practice recall. Now the first thing, you have to activate your recall. A lot of people have never done the recall practice. So here is simple stuff which can help you. Now the first thing I say is practice instant recall. Now what meant by instant recall? Instant recall is in a simple word, become like a parrot without becoming parrot. Now what I mean by that? When you are in a conversation, just repeat what the other person said in your own words. Now, normally what happens in a conversation? So let's say if I ask somebody, okay, Kasturi, how do I reach your office? Now she'll be saying that, okay, you go straight on this road for 15 kilometers, then you get a cafe coffee day, then you take a right turn, then you have a roundabout, take the third exit, and all the time I'll be saying, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I might be thinking, oh, I should book a plane ticket to Bhopal. Oh, I should actually talk to Pankaj on, having my program in his corporate. Now, this is what's happening in the mind, and mind saying, it doesn't work. So can I just say, oh, okay, after 15 kilometers, you get a coffee shop, which is a cafe coffee day. Can you repeat that? Now, this may look like a simple thing, but let me tell you, this is actually a life-changing activity. Now, why I'm changing it to life-changing is because if you want to repeat what I'm saying, you know what? You will have to listen. And because you are actively listening to me, you cannot think of anything else. You cannot think of anything else. And you will pay attention, you will be in the present moment, and the other person will know that you're really paying attention. Now, people, and this is a very good practice on listening as well, and being in the present moment also. These are all the bonus things. But because you're recalling, you're practicing recall immediately, it can be done. And do it in insignificant ways. Now, let's say you're talking to your security guard and you ask them, oh, whose car is this red color car? They say, oh, this guy from 903 D block. Oh, okay, 903 D block. Okay, why don't you repeat it? Now, when you go to the mobile store and ask, oh, how much is this phone and how much is the other phone? They say, okay, this is 40,800 rupees and this is 84,000 rupees. Oh, okay, this is 40,000 and why is this 84,000? What is so special about it? Can you repeat the same thing? Now, by doing that, you will be in the present, you're accessing your mind, you're deleting all the fleeting thoughts, and you're practicing listening, you're practicing recall. It's a wonderful thing. So that's called instant recall. The first recall, now why you have to do the instant recall is because the first recall is very, very difficult. And first recall is often very difficult and it's actually very, very important. If you can recall something right now, you can actually recall later. If you can't recall now, you will never recall later again. Okay, so this is something which is very important to recall. Repeating, actually repeating by from the mind, not seeing and repeating, recalling, repeat by recall. That is what is engraving. Thank you for that, Navneet. Okay, so let's move on. And second thing is called event recall. So I'm giving another way of practicing recall. And what is event recall? So you have gone to a coffee shop and you have a conversation with your client. So after you're walking, after the meeting, when you're walking towards the car, ask yourself what has happened. Okay, I said this, he said that, he said that. Oh, I said this, and this is what has been discussed. You can see that. Or you watch a movie on Netflix. After the movie is over, can you ask yourself what was the plot? Oh, this guy came from Singapore and he got invested and he got arrested, his girlfriend got released and they got married. Ask yourself what has happened. You take your dog for a walk. Can you ask what has happened? Oh, I met this guy. This is the conversation. Oh, there's a car which was speeding, and there was a lot of potholes on the road because of some bulldozer work. Can you repeat it? Otherwise, what happens is everything is going as a system in the mind, and you're not paying attention. Just by asking what happened, it's a training for the mind to be in the present. Ask yourself what happened. For those of you who understand Hindi, हुआ क्या था? After a movie, after a conversation, after a chit chat, when you talk with a friend, when you talk with your kid, when you talk with your security guard, ask what happened. Now that will help you in training your brain as well. So just some of the advantages of instant recall are it facilitates attention, future traces for recall, strengthens association, improves recall skills, increases observation, increases long-term memory, and also encourages mindfulness, all by doing these little things. Very simple stuff, but very, very powerful. If it is making sense, can you just put recall in the chat box so I know that you have understood the practice of recall, how it impacts people. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anupama. Thank you, Navneet. Ananta, thank you. Swati, Nand Kumar, Narendra, thank you, Anand. Okay, let's move on. Next one is think how the brain thinks. Now, brain thinks in terms of pictures. So next time when you encounter some information, so just blankly listening that, can you think of a picture? Now, how does it work? Let me give an example. So think visually because brain thinks and understand pictures better. If you can think in terms of pictures, it will actually help. Okay. So that's my name. Can you make a picture out of it? Can you cut down, break it down, and make a picture of that? Anything which you can think of? Single ant, an ant. Okay, that's great. So that's exactly right. So if you can visualize an ant, it makes more sense. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to picturize information into an image which is immediately acceptable to the brain. Ni hao is Mandarin for hi. It's also used for how are you. So ni hao. So I don't know ni hao. I don't know Chinese, Mandarin, but I know a little bit of English. Ni hao. I don't know ni hao, but I know ni hao. Ni hao. So if I see Chinese and if I can ask them, I'll visualize instead of asking them how are you, I'm asking how is your knee, ni hao. So if I can make the statement, I will never forget. Right? Next one, names. When you meet people, names. Can you actually visualize? Can you visualize Dipti? Can you convert Dipti into a picture? Yeah, Dipti. This is how the brain works. It works very, very fast. You just give an instruction, the brain will take it forward from there. Dipping a biscuit in tea, yeah, perfect. Dipti. So payphone is one of my Chinese friends' name. Can you decode payphone into an image? It's not only fun, it actually helps you to be in the present. It pay by phone, yeah. Okay, pay phone. All right. So let's move on. The other thing which you have to do is take small steps every day. If you want to take your memory to the next level, once in a way, what you do, it's not going to work. What you do every day, even if it is one single step, that's absolutely okay. Can you do small steps? Can you actually try and remember your to-do list rather than actually writing it down? Can you go to the market just by trying? What's the worst thing that will happen? You'll forget too. All the life you've been doing that. There's no big deal, right? Can you just use your mind for small things? Okay, somebody asked what is 16 times 27. Can you try do it manually? Now, small things can you work with your brain on a regular basis. You don't have to do big things. I want to make very simple statement which I always believe in. The root to significance often is found in insignificant way. You want to have significant achievement, start doing insignificant things in a proper manner. If you start remembering two things you want to get from the market, or you're able to calculate 16 to 37, these small things will keep your brain working all the time, consciously. The word is consciously again. Take small steps every day consciously. The next one I would like to share is train your brain. Now, where you train your brain, now you can do fun activities, solving jumbles, crosswords, sudoku, chess, all these kind of things can be helped. Yeah. Yeah, don't put your WhatsApp list, to-do list in WhatsApp. So I want to ask a question. Thanks, Anupama, for sharing that out there. I would just ask a crazy question. The question is, if you're not willing to or not able to, either case, if you're not willing to or not able to remember five things which you want to get from the market, what do you expect your brain to do? Very important question. Start with small things. That's where you build your credibility. That's where you build your capacity. That's where you build your muscle. And then you can do big things. If I'm not able to remember five things I have to get from the market, I cannot remember five people in the meeting. I cannot remember 10 concepts you have been discussed somewhere in the market. It's not possible. Start small, build up. Okay. Thanks, Anupama, for that. So train your brain by Sudoku, chess, anything which challenges your mind. So please involve in that. It is never too late. But let me tell you, if you don't do this, again, my favorite statement, God bless you. It's high time people should do this. So these are all the steps. If it is making some sense so far, can you just put MS in the chat box so that I know it's making sense? All right. Thank you so much. And last, but the most important thing I would always share is try to get a mentor, because several times it's not easy for recruiters because it's a technical subject. So find a good mentor who can help you on how to take your mind to the next level. Suggest mobile games to train brain. Anand, you can actually try Lumosity, my favorite, Lumosity. And you don't even have to buy the paid version. You can also survive with a free version of that. It's very good. Okay, used to do Lumosity, so why don't you spend more time on Lumosity, because they have a lot of challenging games. Yes, Sudoku is a very good idea. Chess is a good idea. Jumbles is a good idea. Crosswords is a good idea. Rubik Cube is another one good thing. But Rubik Cube, the thing is, once you know how to solve it, it's done. Okay. Sudoku keeps you active. Yes, great. Okay. So these are some of the things, and also try and get a mentor. So somebody who has already traveled that path and whom you think they can guide you. Just hire a mentor. The journey will be much, much faster. Okay. So these are some of the things which you can try doing to take charge of your memory. And of course, I would love to stay connected with you. So this is my link tree. So you can scan this. You have my YouTube there. You have my LinkedIn out there. And you can write to me if you have any questions. So that's my link, the link tree there. And if you have any questions, yes, I am here for questions. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you can unmute. So, and yeah, this is my contact list. So contact number, so you can take a picture if you like to. Any question, but please do put 4C in the subject box and then do mail me. Then I'll know what I have shared with you. Then I can give an answer based on the conversation which you had today. So sometimes I do get a lot of mail. So 4C will be a great reference. So you can say 4C webinar. So I know that you were there as a participant and I can address you from this context. All right. So this is all from my side, and in this short time, so this is what I thought, I can add this little value. If you have any questions, you can open your chat box, and you can open your microphone and ask your questions. Yeah, I'm here for you if you have any questions. Or you can also share your learnings if you want to. Yeah, Anupama, you want to say something? Go ahead, please.
Yes, just an announcement before anybody else starts speaking. Please raise your virtual hand so we can call upon you. We don't want everybody speaking at one go. Yes, if you have any questions, please raise your virtual hand and we can call upon you to ask your question. But Ananta, very good session, a lot of good insights. I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
Long time back when I was quite young, I had a very photographic memory. Very photographic memory in the sense that I would recall, if I have to say the right word, recall my study material by book, page, sentence, paragraph, wording.
And whether it is bracket, green underline, everything.
Absolutely. But over the time, that ability has been lost. I know why it's lost. Of course, as you said, stress, too many things on my mind. But I somewhere that ability is incessantly lying. I know it's within me. How do I reactivate it?
Okay, first thing, you don't have to reactivate that. You don't need that, and nor it is possible to get there. So I'll tell you something very interesting. From the age until the age of 12 and 13, there's something which is called as eidetic memory. Eidetic memory is completely visual, and then you bring in a kid and you show them a photograph, and they see the photograph very brightly, and then they're playing, and then you ask them how many horses are there. So they'll close their eyes and they say one, two, three, four, okay, seven horses there. Now it's called eidetic memory, and people have not found out why is it existing and why it gets wiped out. So enjoy as long as it is there. If it is gone, it's okay. So the memory experts say the eidetic memory over a period of time changes into idiotic memory, unfortunately. Okay, but then the good thing is that start taking little steps, you will have a similar impact. And why people at some time back they're able to remember is simply because there's very less on the plate. Now, when you were a kid, what all you had? You probably did not even have 24 channels on the TV. So I still remember we just had one song thing, and that's a curfew time. The only question is, you want to watch it, don't want to watch? Oh, I watched. I watched the same thing multiple times without getting bored. But now people get bored easily, and if they want to watch a movie, it's a pain. Oh, what movie should I? Spider-Man 3 is there. Oh, Fast and Furious 8 is there. Harry Potter is there. Oh, I also got this movie. And it's a lot of stress to make that also. And these days, I mean, currently all the executives here, we have a lot of things to deal with: the traffic, the dollar value, the marketing, the COVID post expense reaction, the cyclone effect. Now, all these things will thin your mental ability, and because of that, you don't perform. So when you do some practice, you actually leverage and raise your level so that you can handle those tasks easily. In a nutshell, that's the answer. I hope that got clear. Your question? Okay. So Anand,
Thank
I
you.
think you have raised your hand. Go ahead. Anand ji, go ahead.
सर फर्स्ट थिंग आपने जो बताया कि कोई भी चीज आप सुनते तो फर्स्टली उसको रिपीट कीजिए। तो मैंने अभी ऑब्जर्व किया कि बहुत बार जब रिपीट करते हैं वो चीज मतलब लाइफ टाइम के लिए कभी कभी ध्यान रह जाती है, पर जो चीज इम्पोर्टेंट है वही मिस हो जाती है। तो उसके लिए क्या करें?
Okay, got it. So the question is, sometimes when you repeat, some of the things will be there for the lifetime, but there are some things you miss out which are really, really critical for life. What is that? Now, what has happened, Anandjit? So the thing which has happened is it has been an unconscious way of repeating. A lot of things happen unconsciously as a practice. So kar dete hai log. But actually it has to be done with the practice. Just a second, I'll switch on my laptop. So what exactly happens, unfortunately, what happens is that it is not a conscious practice. When you start doing this as a consciously, you start remembering it. All right. So if you have to do only one thing in your life, bring your life from automated mode to a conscious mode. If you can do that, you have arrived. Drive car consciously, eat consciously, type messages consciously, attend the webinar consciously. The more you can do that, that's where you take yourself to the next level. Mechanical ho jata hai har cheez. Everything has turned into mechanical thing. So in the mechanical thing, the mind will not need any attention. Now, when you're driving the car, learning to drive the car, you're very, very conscious. Now people play the music, have a conversation, fighting with somebody on the thing, having coffee and steering the wheel with one hand, you don't make a mistake. You say, oh, I've arrived. You're not arrived. You actually messed up your life. You know what? Most of the accidents happen in life not because of drugs and substitute abuse of substance. It is basically the mind not being on there. People don't know that they're actually driving. पता ही नहीं चला. लोनावाला से मुंबई ड्राइव करते चले गए, पता ही नहीं चला. Crazy stuff. You have to be telling. Okay, one quick tip I can share with you to get there. Every time you remember in your life, tell yourself what you're doing. Oh, I'm taking a webinar. I'm having a meal. I'm driving. I'm going for a walk. I'm walking my dog. Tell yourself consciously, because we are living like zombies. I mean, it may look like a strange statement, but let me tell you, I make the statement normal. We are living like zombies. We should start getting into conscious practice, and that will really, really help us. So, is this making sense? Anand, does it solve your question? Super. So, any other questions? Maybe we have one question for one last question, maybe. Any questions? Kasturi, go ahead, please.
Anant, my question is exactly opposite to your topic of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I
How do you
know
forget?
what you have, yeah, how to forget. Because
How to
we have
forget?
so much
Okay,
of data and so much of memories and so many of memories and so much of unnecessary things which are actually occupying the space of necessary things.
correct.
So how do we take them out and fill with the right things?
Thank you so much for asking, Kasturi. And for a lot of people, this may sound like a very funny question. This may be a funny question, but this is a very serious question which has serious consequences in life. The first thing is why? How can I forget the things? Now, a simple way is don't do whatever I said. You will forget. But then the question is, I still remember a lot of unnecessary stuff. We remember unnecessary stuff simply because we have let them in, because we
Right.
are unconscious. जो भी आ रहा है माइंड में जाने दे रहे हैं. Anything gets into the mind, we are okay with that. And I'll make a statement. I'll tell you something about myself. I am not asking you to be that, but let me tell you what I do. From last 27 years, I have not been watching TV, and 14 years not been reading newspapers. I'm not asking you to do that, but I do that myself. The reason for that is I don't want unnecessary things to be in my head, and I don't want to process them. I don't want to remember them. If there is nothing getting into the head, there's no way of remembering it. So I consciously choose what goes in. So I have so much space for me to play around. If you're not conscious enough, the noise of the washing machine from the neighbor's house will be troubling you because you are not filtering what you want. If you don't start filtering the content, anything and everything gets entered your head and then jams everything out there. So, Kasturi, is that making some sense? Did you get your question answered at least partly? You have to
Yes.
be very conscious of what is coming in so that you have X space. So you have a choice to leave it open and unconsciously get it filled, or you choose consciously what goes in. Now that's the best place. That's the best way of doing it. Yeah.
I would
Cool.
definitely like to learn how to do that. And I'll definitely
Anytime.
connect you for that.
Yeah,
But
sure,
being a
sure. And
marketer, we have so many of unnecessary things.
absolutely, I get that. So you can share your comments on maybe I'm sure Corsi would post this on the LinkedIn. So please do share your link, your learnings, or share your comments on the thing. It will also help Corsi. It will also help me. So please stay connected with me on my LinkedIn. So sometimes I do write small articles and notes on LinkedIn also. You would be able to read that as well. So that's from my side, and I wish you all a great memory. And always remember that you have a great memory, and that's the starting point. And of course, use the things which I've shared with you that will help you build up. So, back to you, Sanya.
Thank you so much, Anand. And that was an amazing session. And thank you everyone for taking your time and coming to this webinar. But before I say anything else, Anand, did you know there's some sort of coincidence that happened today?
Okay, please share.
Today is actually International Yoga Day.
Yoga day. Yeah.
And
And
we've taken such a topic which is in relation to the mind. Yoga also is helpful for the mind, and now this
I
webinar
call
as
it
well.
as the brain yoga. Not just the
Yes.
body needs yoga, the brain also needs some flexibility. Thank you for
Yes.
choosing this day.
Sure. So for everyone's knowledge, this session has been recorded, and if any one of you have actually missed a few parts, you can go and see it. We're going to be putting this on YouTube. Also, as mentioned earlier, these sessions are being taken place every month. So it was, of course, every session is different because we have new trainers coming in, and they are to help you for your business as well as your personal life to go to the next level and to keep you educated as well as empowered. If in case you are interested to know more, do connect with us and do connect with Anant as well. And I will also be posting the link for you to join our group. With that, I will see you guys next time. Thank you everyone for coming and have a nice weekend.